All right, welcome to episode 49 of the At Bat Podcast, presented by War Media, where we give you our thoughts on the latest Chicago baseball news, as well as take a trip around the league. I am Saul Rodriguez, along with my co-host MVP Miles Porter. How we doing, man?
That's a great intro that you always give me for this. Doing good, doing good. I'm recording from Bash Sports Academy, place that I used to coach at for the past 3 years, and I still come here and I work out during the off season, during the season. So this place means a lot to me. So I thought it'd be cool to kind of shoot an episode here.
Yeah, bro. I mean, look, the work does not stop for Miles Porter. Even when he's not working, he's working. And you know what I'm saying? Getting that swing right. So yeah,
Crazy.
and we're gonna start off there, man. I mean, the Miles corner is back. It's fresh. It's hot. How did that weekend go for Milwaukee Jaguars and Miles Porter, man?
It was good. It was a good start to the season. We're 2-1 right now. First game, first game was good, and then now we're kind of getting into this upcoming weekend where we have 4 games coming up against some really competitive teams, and we're in the Wisconsin State League now, so that's much more competitive semi-pro baseball, and just feeling good, 2026, and not exactly one of the youngest guys anymore, but I'm still like in the middle where it's like I can relate to the young guys, but I'm still like one of the older guys too. So I'm in that middle now, which is kind of fun.
You're the wise guy now. Wise Miles.
Exactly.
Look at that. You go. They go
Exactly.
for
Exactly.
people go for you for the info. So that's good, man. And hey,
Exactly.
good to
Two
hear.
stolen bases, by the way. 2 stolen bases.
Hey, and we talked about it. You said right, and we said the league is gonna see this. They're gonna know it. But even when you know it, you can't stop it. So I guess.
Back here.
So there you go. I mean, you got Miles Horner over here stealing bases. So that's what we love to see. You know what I'm saying? Not only can my man rake, but he's also gonna steal bases. So that's good to hear. Hopefully, Milwaukee Jaguars only W's. So hopefully it comes up. I know you said how many you got this weekend coming up?
Got 4 coming up this week.
4 big games. All right, sweet. So hopefully that works out. Best of luck. And we're gonna move on now to Chicago baseball, where it hasn't been very hot for both sides of the city. On the north side, the Cubs are 19 and 23. They're still holding on to that spot, third in the NL Central, losing 7 of the last 9, now 4 in a row. As we sit here recording this on Wednesday. Yeah, Miles, what have you thought over the last week, man? I mean, they lost 2 out of 3 in Minnesota, which I'll get to because I was there for the losses, unfortunately. And then, of course, they went into Houston and lost the first 2 already, the series. Yeah, what have you thought of the last week, man? It's just been the same kind of same struggles, but anything in particular that from the last week that stood out?
Man, it's just been a tough go for the Cubs. I think that they're running into some very good competition. I don't think it's anything against any of the players. They're just running into great ball players at the moment. Great ball clubs in general. The Twins have been a solid team, and Correa kind of picking it up. And they're in a very hard part of the schedule. And I said this in the beginning of the season where it's like, a lot of teams are going to start off hot, including the Cubs, and then may feel like they're fizzling out. They just got to keep playing ball. Right now, big ball isn't working for them, so kind of small ball has to be their bread and butter at the moment. And it's great seeing Matt Mervis hit his first home run, and Christopher Morel has come up and absolutely raked, even though he K'd 4 times the other day after hitting home. That's fine too. We'll take it. It's still, he's still being productive, and he's been great since being called back up. So there's a lot of positives to take away. And Hayden Wesneski getting sent down to AAA, just go down there and work on it, man, and come back up and dominate.
No, yeah, you're right, man, and yeah, we'll take it from Morel, honestly, with how the offense, how bad the offense has been. We'll take a 4 strikeout day if he's going to come back the next day in a bomb or something. So, definitely, and you're right. I mean, it really has been tough competition. It's not like they've been losing to teams that they shouldn't be losing to. But yeah, I mean, kind of leaking into the conversation of me going to Minnesota, man. I went and I got in on Saturday morning. So I went to Saturday's game that was started with the rain delay. So I think those were all the signs that it was going to be a tough couple games there because
how big is that Jumbotron? It looks huge.
It's gigantic, bro, and it's like
gosh.
it's way bigger than I thought it would be. Like in person, like it looks so nice. It's one of those stadiums that looks nice on TV, but way better in person. It is for sure. I mean, I've been to so far. I've been to Fenway. and now Target Field of the stadiums outside of Chicago. So yeah, just seeing that, kind of seeing the you know the difference between an older stadium like Wrigley, an older stadium like Fenway, to a stadium like Target Field. It's crazy, dude. Like, just
Yeah.
all the lights, dude. There's so much to look at. There's literally so much to look at that sometimes you catch yourself not even watching the game. You're like looking at the screens and what's like, it's
Yeah.
insane. And
Yeah.
but no, beautiful stadium, man, and a great. I will say this. I'll start with the positive. Great experience. Did enjoy the city of Minnesota. Got to see Mall of America, all the good stuff. But when it comes to the actual games, dude, seriously, it's funny because they were probably the two worst games in the whole season, right? They
Yeah. It was
probably
tough.
were. They were
Yeah.
so bad, and I thought I was like living in a nightmare. I was like, oh my goodness, I came all this way to see my team get shellacked.
Yeah.
So it was rough. I mean, the first game, Wisniewski gets touched up, and it just was bomb after bomb. They hit a season high 5 home runs. The Twins did in that game. Kirilloff coming off the IL, and I believe it was the IL or came up for the minors, one of those. But he was making his season debut like in the last week, and dude has just been raking ever since then. He hit 2 home runs off the Cubs, and then yeah, just everyone was just hitting home runs that day. Correa hit one, and then the next day I'm like, you know what? Wipe the slate clean. It's a rubber match. You have Stroman, the Stro show,
Yeah.
pitching, dude, and he also gets touched up. I mean, that was just unbelievable. Even my buddy that I went with, Mario, he's a diehard White Sox fan, and I don't think he even enjoyed seeing my misery there, because it was just a more barrage of home runs. I mean, Larnick hit another homer. Gallo, I think he hit 2 over the weekend as well. I mean, he hit one so far. They literally did not, Statcast couldn't read it. Yeah, man. I mean, look, great experience, but the games were terrible. And it's definitely something to forget when it comes to the game. But other than that, great city of Minnesota. Definitely I enjoyed my time there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it was rough. But I will say, talking more about Morel and him and Suzuki are the ones that have been carrying the offense. Really, I feel like over the last week, they had a great series in Minnesota despite the Cubs losing 2 out of 3 there. And I think honestly over the last week for me, it's really just been noticing how much the Cubs are missing at the leadoff spot with Horner being out. Like, as much
Yeah.
as Horner not necessarily is an OBP guy, but he's a guy that is going to get you singles, he's going to get on regardless. And he's going to work great at bats. And even Madrigal and Morel can't do that. Like, I know, credit to Morel, he just came up, so it's one of those things that you give him a little more time. But Madrigal, man, and it's funny, as I talked about Seiya Suzuki carrying the offense, he just hit a home run right now as the Cubs are up 3-0 early here on this Wednesday, trying to salvage
There you go.
that sweep, there's series, right? But no, yeah, it's just that leadoff spot is really have left a lot to be desired. And I mean, and look, I wanted to ask you, like, who if you were the manager, who would you put at the leadoff spot right now? Like, would you put maybe? I think when you look at the numbers, I think it'd be easy to say guys like Hap or even Swanson, because those guys just work the count as well and take walks. Are
Yeah.
those the type of guys you'd want to see maybe try out the leadoff spot? Because at this point, without Horner, you might as well kind of have it be a revolving door and see what fits, right?
Yeah, I think you just kind of rotating to see what's working and what's not working. Maybe I'm putting Hap at the top of the lineup,
Mm-hmm.
but I really love his bat in the middle of the lineup. Same thing with Dansby. Um, for me, at the highest I'll go with Dansby is a 2 spot, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
Pope Morel in that leadoff spot. And the reason why I'm saying that is I feel that this team offensively is still trying to find themselves a little bit. So I don't want to take away from the middle of that lineup too much. I think there's still a lot to be desired there. I think for me personally, I feel like the best fit right now for the top of that lineup is Christopher Morel.
Mm-hmm.
That's up to David Ross. That's up to that entire coaching staff and how they want to kind of structure that. But I mean, yeah, you could put Happ in the lineup. And if I'm not mistaken, at one point wasn't he leading off for the Cubs in like 2017?
Ian Happ, yeah, Ian Happ,
Yeah,
yeah.
So
He was leading off at the time, kind of when he didn't really have that as great of an eye. Like he's always had a solid eye, But when you look at the last couple seasons, man, he's been his walks have gone up and his OBP has been. I mean, right now he's got an OBP above I think 410. So I think that's the only reason why I say maybe he would have fit up there, because he would get on base for the middle of the order. But I do see what you're talking about. I mean, we just kind of need a little more pop out of him. Probably he's got 4 homers right now. So I think, and it'll come, I think, with him. But yeah, keep on going. Or you get something else to say?
Oh no, you're good. The phone was ringing, so I muted myself.
Oh my! Oh no, you're good.
Oh,
You're good. You're good.
no, yeah. I mean, the cool thing about this Cubs team is that you can really experiment right now, and it'll be okay. So you kind of play around with certain things with this team and see what's working, see what's not working, because there's still a very competitive team, but there's still some experimenting going on with this ball club. So, you know, I wouldn't mind seeing anyone at the top of that lineup kind of just trying to give us some sort of spark going from there.
No, yeah, you're right. And I mean, if you look at like the type of guys that are in the middle of the order, like I think as much as we've talked about like the offense has not hit as well the last, maybe couple weeks or so. Even Wisdom has still, maintained, even though he's been striking out a ton more. But Wisdom has still maintained his OPS above 900. He's still at 924 right now. So he's still having an impact there when it comes to extra base hits and all that. So yeah, I do like guys like, Happ and Swanson, those guys getting on for guys like that. So that, yeah, it does work out. And look, it just, regardless of the 4 strikeout game for Morel, I do like him atop the order because of the energy he brings and still the power that he could bring up there, because he still breaks. So I do like that. Hopefully they try it a couple more times, see what happens. So we'll see what happens there. But also another thing too was, they were just they've just been outclassed by these Astros. And again, it's like one of those things where as much as, the Cubs could have beat the Twins. The Twins are still atop the AL Central, so they're still one of the better teams in the Midwest. When you look at the Astros, they've got off to a cold start, but they're still, defending World Series champions. So like, you don't necessarily feel like this is necessarily. I mean, disappointing every time you lose, but it's not as much of a low compared to other series losses there. And of course, it doesn't really help that they lost Bellinger for a couple of days now. I mean, he's not in the lineup again today on Wednesday, and he's the Cubs have an off day tomorrow, so that'll help there. Probably one of the main reasons he's not playing today, just to get an extra day before they head into Philly. Yeah, so it was good to see. Also, you mentioned it, Matt Mervis hit a home run. Still 651 OPS right now. He's not looking so great overall, but he's getting, acclimated. So I'm not too hard on that either. I mean, look at, even like you said with Wisniewski, he got sent down. Look, he's one of those types of guys that he just needs a little more polishing left. It's not a lot. He's gonna be in this rotation soon or whatever. He's gonna make a big impact on the next Cubs playoff team, in my opinion. So I think he'll be fine and he'll come back and kill it. So looking ahead, the Cubs got the Phillies this weekend, and then they come back home and take on the Mets, and then 3 against the Reds. What do you hope to see when they head to Philly? I mean, the Phillies are a team that also got off to a cold start, but we've talked about it multiple times. We're not worried about them either because of how good their offense is. They're 20-23, 6.5 games back in the East. They got Harper back, and he's hot. And like what, and I'm not necessarily talking about his bat. This dude, was heated over the weekend when they had that whole little confrontation with the Rockies. So yeah, what do you hope to see when the Cubs, go into Philadelphia this weekend? Do you hope that they can kind of weather the storm again, maybe just get at least a win there? Like, hopefully, obviously, we always wish to win a series, but this 3-city trip has not been kind of the Cubs either.
Yeah, I mean, this is the Phillies are an interesting team because they're in a very similar spot as the Cubs, but I think they have a more established identity. And the Phillies actually kind of scare me because they can put it together at any moment during the season. That's still a very scary offensive lineup. And so if things just start clicking for them, that's a scary ball club. And regardless of what they can do or what they haven't done, this is going to be another tough series for the Cubs. It'll be a good test for this team. Even though we're a little bit shorthanded at the moment, that's okay. But I'm not expecting the Cubs to blow the Phillies out of the water, but I am expecting some competitive baseball. I am probably still going to give the edge to the Phillies just because they play with that edge. But anything can happen. But it's going to be a tough a tough series for them. Offensively, that's a very scary team. But this Cubs team can take advantage of a team that hasn't been known well for their pitching.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, look, they got to a game over 500 and then they proceeded to lose four in a row. They did not fare
Yeah,
well in Colorado, despite, the whole
yeah,
fracas over there, everything, everybody getting ticked off. But yeah, I
yeah,
mean, they still got guys that mash, and that's how they beat you, right? They're always gonna.
yeah.
It's not necessarily rely on their pitching, but their pitching got in the World Series last year. It just hasn't been like that this year so far. But the way they were at this point of the season last year, I'm sure they're not very worried about that. I'm sure they'll pick it up and be able to pick up a playoff spot. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Kind of moving on now to the White Sox, who again, just like the Cubs, continue to struggle here in the last. I mean, for the White Sox, maybe the whole season has been struggle, right? But 15
Oh,
and 28, and since May 4th, they're 5-7 though, which I will say for a team that, with the record of 15 and 28 is probably a positive, right? Because at least you've won 5 of your last 12 there. I mean, right. I mean, the way that they
yeah,
fared, it's, having just 2 games under 500 in the last, 10 days or so. It's positive, I think there, but yeah, they lost 3 out of 4 to KC. Then they lost 2 out of 3 to Houston. Luis Roberts, the one carrying the freight there because, since the start of May, 14 games, he's got a 1430 OPS, 7 home runs, 17 runs, and he's slugging out of this world 939. I mean, look, the White Sox obviously haven't been where they want to be, and they struggled. But when a guy like Luis Robert, turns it on, and like, how far can he take the White Sox when he gets hot?
yeah. I mean, I think he definitely keeps them afloat. I just don't think that it's enough still.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying he's not giving enough, but he needs more of a supporting cast around him. And I think Benintendi has done everything that he's can to this point. Tim Anderson has come back and he's been okay. Hasn't been terrible,
Mm-hmm.
but he's been okay, and that's just the truth. And for this Sox team to even have some sort of momentum, they have to be clicking on all cylinders. And for us to be happy about sort of the bare minimum for a team that we thought was going to be just out of this world.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was laughing because I was like, "This is bad. We're just happy they're doing fine." They're like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah.
So it's yeah, it's just not enough. It's not enough, and I don't know if I see the season going any better for them. Um, I'm curious to know what they're going to sell, what they're going to keep at the deadline. There was a lot of frustrations around the management and the lack of moves that they made this offseason, and certain things coming to light even more this year. And clearly, we're seeing that this wasn't just a Tony La Russa thing going on. This is so I think some of these players just are not buying it. I just don't think they are. In the beginning, when things were very fun in 2020, and what an amazing year it was in 2021, looking like a gritty JUCO team. it was just fun to watch, and I think maybe some guys got a little bit complacent, and whatever the case may be. But the supporting cast around Robert just isn't cutting it. So hopefully there's some sort of something that clicks. I'll be at the White Sox game on Friday, actually. Fun fact: I bought tickets behind the third base dugout for $43, and I was like, "Oh my god, oh my gosh!" I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get these tickets." So it's interesting. It's an interesting scenario on the South Side. Um, just keep playing. That's the best thing that they can do at this point. I think Griffol's done everything you could with this ball club to this point.
No, yeah, you're right, and trust me, and I think you look at the prices of any White Sox game, and you'll be pleasantly surprised at how much you can get to be close there. I mean, yeah, I mean, I go to so many games. I go to so many White Sox games. That's one of the main reasons why they're like $10, $15. So, and
Yeah,
they have that new Tuesday thing where it's like, a lot of the food is $5 and stuff like that. So I mean, that's positive. That's a positive right there. I mean, I'll take it as much as you want as a Chicago. You're trying to have these guys win
yeah.
here.
The food
We'll
isn't
take the
bad at
positive.
guaranteed
Oh,
rate.
it's one of the best. It's one of the best
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Major League Baseball, which I
yeah,
find very fascinating that it's like in the top. It's always in the top 5 when it comes to like people talking about their food.
On the
You know, it
South
just
side, they got that soul. You gotta have the food from the South.
hey, yeah, you're right, dude. And like the fact is that it's not even just the quality of food, dude. It's the choice of food, right? It's like
Yes, yeah.
they have you know, food for Hispanics, for all kinds of people
Mm-hmm.
there. It's awesome, dude. Like the elote, and they have, you know, they have
Yeah.
tamales, like
I
tacos,
need
like
really
it's
to take a little bit of note
I
here because the
agree.
quality of
I
food in Wrigley
agree.
has gone down
I
tremendously.
agree. Yeah. And I mean they're building like, I don't know if it was like a Giordano's in there or something like that. But even then, like you get a slice of Giordano's there, it is not great, honestly. Like it's not like, you know, it's not like when you eat it at home or eat it at the restaurant. It's like cold and it's like mushy. It's
Yeah,
not the same.
yeah.
Regardless, I'm a Lou Malnati's guy, but that's another podcast. It's a story for another podcast.
Make
Uh,
another show about food. Please let me know.
what's your go to? What's your go to deep dish, Miles? If you had to pick.
It's loose. This is loose.
That's
Yeah.
what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up. I thought I was gonna have to end the podcast and be like, you know, Miles, you know, I'm gonna have to get you to get out of here because nah, I'm just kidding. It's always a rivalry, man. It's no, dude. It's almost like the rivalry with the Cubs and White Sox, right? With Giordano's and Lumonati's. You got one or the other. You know, some occasionally you got people, you know, like Pequods, which I've barely tried. I tried for the first time. Great pizza, but Lumonati
Yeah.
just always hits.
Yeah.
But
Level
yeah,
six.
yeah, exactly. But back to the White Sox. I mean, they got Crochet coming back now finally,
Yeah.
who they haven't seen in a while. But with him back, man, I mean, we haven't seen this guy for that many games. He's 23, drafted in 2020. He's pitched 59 games for the Sox.
Yeah.
254 ERA, 65 Ks to 27 walks. So he's a guy that you know, that just is out there striking dudes out left and right. Um, with Garrett Crochet back, what does he bring and what can he help the Sox with, especially this year? You know, obviously, like you said, they're going to need more than this. They're going to need more
Mhm.
than just Robert going off here. But what can a guy like Garrett Crochet bring for the White Sox now that he's back?
If things start to click well, he can keep them in games that they have not been keeping themselves in.
Mm-hmm.
If things go well, if he's able to eat
Mm-hmm.
up innings the way in a hypothetical, in a perfect world for the White Sox, if he's able to give about 5, 6, 7 per start and keeping them in games, that gives the offense more of a chance. That gives the bullpen more confidence to shut the door. Whatever the case is, there's a huge possibility that he's just gonna be able to you know, kind of keep his team competitive somewhat in games that they have kind of been blowing lately and blowing this pretty much this entire season, actually. So I really like him coming back. I love how dominant he is from the left side. I think it's great that he's 23 years old. The White Sox really keep an eye on him and do their best to keep him around and help him develop well and not do this thing that the Sox I've seen them kind of do where they have a young guy that develops well, and either they keep him around and he's dominant, but he's on a very mediocre team, or he's good and then they ship him off, and then White Sox fans are like, well, what the heck?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that you know they continue to groom him correctly going forward.
No, yeah, you're right, and I think I will say I think I looked and I had to make sure, but I think they're going to continue to bring him out of the bullpen just for this year, though. I think next year is when they're putting him as a starter, which you know,
Okay.
but no, you hit it on the head regardless, though, because you know you said they're going to keep him he's going to keep the Sox in you know in games, and he is, regardless of where he's coming out, right? And I think that when you have a bullpen that has struggled like the White Sox, man, it's been a rough go for them overall. I mean, Joe Kelly has not been great. Aaron Bummer has not been as good as, you know, he has been in the past few years. You know, and it just hasn't worked out. I mean, they've needed help from guys like Middleton and you know Keenan Middleton, who's been great. I mean, 203
Yeah,
ERA. You
yeah.
know, so they have guys like that have
We didn't
fortunately
even
for the
talk about Dylan
Sox.
getting hit hard this year as
Yeah,
well. Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
Mm-hmm.
It's like hard to look at his stats. I'm turning it off.
No, you're right, dude. And you look at you know a guy like Lane Slane, who fortunately was able to bounce back from a
Yeah.
7 run you know blowout against KC. You know, and he came back and outpitched Shane Bieber. So it's
Yeah.
good to see from that end because he's been having a rough go. I mean, you know look away 6.66 ERA.
Oh my
We don't
God.
like
That's
yeah
a huge order. Palpatine
yeah
would love this stat.
yeah. Yeah, so
Sorry,
it's been a tough go there, and I think
yeah.
all you can say that about just about all the starters for the Sox, and yeah. So I mean, even guys like Kendall Graveman have not pitched as well. I mean, 3.86 ERA, but in the little small sample size, but
Hmm.
even then, they still expected more out of him to even be like a closer option there.
Yeah.
A lot of fans are happy to say bye to Jeff Diekman, because he was just that was another guy that was just taking on the
Very
chin for
rough
the
go.
Sox there. Yeah. So yeah, for hopefully, Garrett Crochet is gonna come in and be another bright spot for the Sox here, like Robert has been, and help them stay in games and
Hmm.
also just win games in general, because it's all that matters at this point.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, looking ahead, they got two more against Cleveland, then they take on KC again at home. What do you hope for the Sox against the Guardians and KC? I mean, these are big games because they're in division games.
Yeah.
They're 8.5 back. Cleveland hasn't been playing great baseball.
Hmm.
Of course, and I mean the whole division has been great, but I mean, you look at the team who's in second place right now. That's the Detroit Tigers with Javi Baez, who's been playing a little better, but that's not saying
Yeah.
much there either. But yeah,
Yeah.
what do you hope to see from the White Sox against the Guardians and against KC?
Look, and it is as crazy as it sounds like this. No one's running away with this
Mhm.
division. No one is. You take care of business the way you've been taking care of with it against the Guardians. I think there's a lot to be desired there. And even when I look at the Royals coming into town, that's a series that you have to take care of your business against them.
Mhm.
That's the bottom of the barrel in your division. Um, a sweep would be beautiful for the team because all of a sudden you look up, the Sox are in second place technically.
Mhm.
So at the same time, one game at a time. But take care of business against the Royals. You can really turn around your season. That's how bad your division is. It can all change at any moment. 3 wins, you have 18. You have 18 wins. I just that's what I'm hoping for the White Sox. So I would love for them to take care of this last game against the Guardians. Then when the Royals come to town, you take care of them. Now you're a competitive team again. Now you're back in this race. Um, you're able to gain some confidence. Do not let the Royals come to Chicago and kick you guys around. That's how you know it's a wrap this year. Um, like I said, aside from me joking around, this is a great moment for them to capitalize on the competition that they are going to face, and just kind of build off it. At any moment, they can turn this thing around. There's no one in this division that's running away with it.
No, you're right, dude. I mean, like, it's just been. I mean, losing 3 out of 4 against the Royals last week, was as bad as it gets, for this team, just because of where the Royals are at too.
Yeah,
Despite having some young, exciting players, it's just, yeah, it's no excuse there. And yeah, look, the thing is, at least, like I said, at least you're playing in division teams with Cleveland, the Royals, and then Cleveland again, and then at
yeah, yeah.
Detroit. So
Mm-hmm.
so you're having, and then even that they take on the Angels and then the Tigers again. So a plenty, like you said, they go on a streak here, and then all of a sudden you're challenging the Twins at the top of the division. So yeah, they could. It's obviously easier said than done,
Yeah.
but when Robert's hot, Crochet's back. Jake Burger's smacking home runs of, like, always, double cheese homers, dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's anything can
Yeah.
happen. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens there. But now moving on to the rest of the league, and there's a subject in particular I wanted to get to, man, and that the Jays and the Yankees are playing. Anytime I feel like the Jays, Yankees, and Rays, and I
Yeah.
mean, heck, even the Red Sox are playing well right now. Like, the whole division is obviously playing well. But anytime those guys get together, where it's the Jays and the Rays, there's always something going on, some kind of beef, right? And
Yes.
again, this week there's been some beef between the Jays and the Yankees. Aaron Judge
Oh my
during an at
goodness.
bat, yeah, during an at bat in Game 1, was seen kind of glancing to the dugout, and Dan Shulman and Buck Martinez, who are the booth for the Jays, were basically kind of not necessarily not very straightforwardly calling him out, but they were saying, hey, like, what is he looking at there? Is he looking to see where the catcher's at? What is he looking at? And they asked a judge after the game, and he said that he was looking. Aaron Boone has just been thrown out, and he was seeing some other guys chirping. So as the captain of the team, he's trying to get people hey, look, Boone was already thrown out. I don't want anybody else thrown out. Like, we're trying to win a game here. So that's what he said there. I'm paraphrasing, but From a fan perspective, I want to get you from a player perspective because I'm sure you could see, maybe, kind of give us a little bit more of a peek of what you do if you ever did something like that in the sense of what strategy there is there. Because a lot of the fans were saying, oh, he's cheating, like this and that, jumping to conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
I personally didn't think so. I thought, you know what, even if he was trying to get an advantage, whether it's seeing where the catcher's at or whatever from his peripherals, I don't necessarily think that's illegal. Like, I don't think necessarily like that's been deemed illegal. Even
Yeah.
if then also some other people have said, even if they were relaying signs to him, again, that's not necessarily something that's been deemed illegal. Again, signs, taking signs or whatever has been something that's been around for years, and obviously now with pitch com, it's a little harder to do anyway.
Yeah.
And even I and if I'm wrong on this, I think I saw that one of the Blue Jays pitchers came out and said that he admitted to tipping his pitches.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they were talking about. I'm not sure if that was that particular game. I don't know if it was game 1 or game 2. They're currently in the middle of game 3. But I was like also thinking to myself, if there's anybody that doesn't need to be cheating, it's Aaron Judge. So he ended up hitting a home run after Dan Shulman and Buck Martinez were talking about that whole thing. Again, ultimately, I don't think he was doing anything wrong. And again, MLB said there will be no investigation there. But from your perspective as a hitter and a baseball player, what could he have been doing there, and what do you think ultimately happened?
I mean, it could have been his teammates chirping.
Mm-hmm.
I truthfully have never seen that
Mm-hmm.
before. If I hear my dugout chirping and they don't need to, for me, I'm probably not going to look at them in the middle of the at bat.
Mm-hmm.
But I do hear it, and that is distracting to me
Mm-hmm.
because I hear my boys. I hear that they are distraught. I hear that they're frustrated. They're feeling how they feel. So it is distracting because those are your teammates, and you want to say, hey, let's reel it in a little bit. We still got to play a ball game here.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I've never seen that. I've never seen a player kind of look away while looking at. It's very interesting and it's tricky in a sense where now you have to be alert. You have to be
Mm-hmm.
alert with a certain amount of time left. So I don't know what to make of that, but I know for a fact that me personally, I did not believe that Aaron Judge was cheating.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Judge has no reason to cheat. He's freaking Aaron Judge. And if the pitchers are thank you, and if the pitchers are even saying that they're tipping pitches, I mean, let it go. There's no sort of unethical reason as to what's going on. Let it go. Let it go. Shut up. I think this is one of the most fragile things. And by the way, I love the Blue Jays. I'm a big fan of Vladdy, and I love Bo Bichette as well. I think this is a very fragile issue, and I think because of the climate of these two teams and what they mean to each other when they play against each other, I think that adds to a lot of these emotions. But no, Aaron, what's he looking at? What's he looking at? I want to ask him, what was he looking at? There's pitch comps now. Stop it. So, I think it's just that competitive nature and people trying to figure out nitpick little things here and there. I love it, but at the same time, shut up.
No, you're right, because I think ultimately that's what I was thinking too. Is that it's really just the Blue Jays trying to pet Bev their way here to the Yankees, right? They're like Patrick Beverly, right? They're trying to get each other under each other's skin so that way they're able to kind of get them off their horse here. But it's not working. I mean, the Yankees have won those games and taken care of business. The Jays haven't had luck there. Their pitching hasn't been doing well against the Yankees. But yeah, I think
Yeah.
ultimately that's what it was. They're just trying to get under the Yankees' skin. And to make matters worse, they were also talking about Yankees third base coach not being in the box, and that's which I thought was ridiculous because I feel like find me one third base coach in the majors that is in the box. What do you think of that? I mean, that's just again just more BS trying to
we're
get the Yankees out the game.
we're nitpicking again. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And there's a lot of I feel like there's been a lot of nitpickiness this year with certain things, and obviously the game is a lot of bit different this year, and I think
Mm-hmm.
there's people are trying to find reasons right now. It's just I don't know. We're reaching really hard at this point. We're reaching really hard. Things like that you don't need to do. when these two teams are just playing ball against each other, it's some of my favorite baseball to watch. But whatever, bro. If listen, me as a ball player, if I'm on the other team and I see the third base coach inching too close, if he gets hit, that's his fault.
Mm-hmm.
That's his fault. By the way, the pitcher is not looking at the third base coach or the first base coach. He's looking at the catcher. He's looking at the hitter. He's looking at his fielders. Whatever the case may be, the third base coach or the first base coach, they are so not important if you are not the hitter. So, I think there's let it go. Let it go.
No, you're right. You're right. That's what I was thinking too. And like just the fact that there was like arguing going on about that was ridiculous. And the fact that like they caught, I think it was manager John Schneider from the Blue Jays, calling was talking smack and calling one dude fat boy or something like that. I'm like,
boy,
yeah, I'm like, dude, like, come on. Like, first of all, get some better insults than that. You could do way better than that, John Schneider. But it is ultimately just ridiculous. They're just nitpicking, as you said, and just you're right. And you said they're reaching. I mean, they literally like they're looking for anything, just to kind of get the Yankees off their game. And the Yankees, they haven't had a great start to the season, but they're getting guys back. They got Stanton back today. They're gonna get Luis Severino soon back, so they're gonna be full on ready. They're still missing Rodon. So even that's crazy to me that they're sitting here 25-19 with a lot of the guys missing. Volpe's playing a lot better now. He's hitting more tanks. He's got 6 on the season. So they're playing better. So I think that only fuels the Yankees more than it does fuel the Jays. But we'll see. I mean, this is the AL East, and this is and we're just a quarter of the season in.
Probably my favorite division in baseball is the AL East.
100%, no doubt. The AL East, the AL East, the NL East, those are the two best divisions in baseball. Just so fun to watch overall. So hopefully, they're able to, just play some baseball, get back to playing baseball and not,
play ball, man.
Yeah,
play ball.
Seriously. The last thing I want to ask
people for clapping. Stop it.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. Oh yeah. That was who was that was Christian Walker from the D-backs.
Yeah.
That's just
I love this. I love after he's thrown out, he calmly walks over to the umpire trying not to slap the crap. You want to hit someone when you put your hands behind your back and you're trying to display that you don't want to hit them. Oh my god. That was great. The whole sequence building up to that strikeout, and it was great. Great. Don't do that. I'm tired of the umpire show, so
dude.
I'm really tired.
It's just no. I mean, look. I think I've heard people say that picking on the umpire, picking on the head or the manager is like the easiest thing to do. But dude, like when you're throwing out people for clapping, it just makes no sense. Like there's no.
Listen, I was done when Adrian Beltre got thrown out for not being in the batter's box.
Remember that?
That was my point where I was like, you know what? Something has to change.
Yeah, and then also it came up this week that Angel Hernandez has only called one game this year, and but there hasn't been. Yeah, there hasn't been much talk about it. But hey, I mean, if Angel Hernandez is retiring quietly, I don't think anyone's really going to complain. That's for sure.
All right. And then I love how it's like the next umpire. Now people are looking at like Phil Cousin.
It
just goes on. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, of course. There's always that one man there. That one umpire that people are going to talk smack about endlessly. So, nonetheless, but the last thing I wanted to ask you about is the Padres, man, the 2023. They just can't seem to beat the Dodgers this year. They were swept. And are you worried about them? Is that something that are obviously in the playoffs? Padres got the Dodgers, number there. They were able to take them on in the LDS last year. So yeah, well, are you worried about the Padres right now? Are they able to? Or you think they're going to be able to come back from that? It's really just been a mixture of inconsistent hitting, but also their pitching hasn't been the same either. But they're sitting 7.5 games back. The Dodgers are officially back. What do you think about the Padres right now? And is it one of those things that you're like, they'll be fine in the end?
I don't know, because the Padres are interesting. They're an interesting ball club because on paper you would think that they are. On paper, people thought they were going to be better than the Dodgers this year, and it's clear that the Dodgers are an organization that just knows how to play baseball, regardless of how much money they spend. Mm-hmm. This is interesting to me because I think I do believe that at any point the Padres can turn it on this year. But I look at someone like Blake Snell, who just has been getting absolutely shelled this year.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from Yu Darvish and a few other arms, he's one of their main guys.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Juan Soto, who recently has been heating up very well, but in a very sad way, hasn't been the same hitter since Washington. But he's so
Mm-hmm.
young to the point where it's like you can't get mad at him. You can't look at him like someone like Joey Gallo or whoever the case is, and kind of dog on him. So this team is still so young, to the point where anything can change at any moment. Fernando Tatis has been electric since coming back. And in a weird way, he's been entertaining and embracing the villain role, but also going out there and playing ball. And Machado, another player who has got off to kind of an ugly start this year, but is still putting together quality at bats. Unfortunately, his baseballs are just finding gloves. So I'm not worried about the Padres, but when I say that, I'm not worried about them in a sense where I feel like they're going to continue down this path. I think they're going to be just fine. That's how I'm not worried about them. They're going to be just fine. But there's still some soul searching that this team has to do at the moment, and they are not in an easy division to figure that out. Their window is actually kind of small at the moment, but I do believe that they can turn it on.
No, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, you give me all I gotta say is you give me a team with Bogarts, Machado, Soto, and Tatis.
Yeah.
They'll be fine. I think
Yeah.
they'll find their way in the end. I think it's really just really, as you said, it's going to fall on their pitching when it comes to guys like Snell. Even Darvish hasn't been as good as he was last year.
Right, yeah.
But he as a guy who we saw a lot in a Cub uniform, he's just got to get hot and he'll be fine as well. You just need a little more from guys like Musgrove, and Snell as well. So yeah, we'll see what happens with them. But I think ultimately they'll be able to find their way, because I think as much as their division is getting a little harder with the fact that the Diamondbacks are playing better baseball. They're 25-19. The Giants aren't necessarily rolling over either. So
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be a good division to watch there too. And just to see what rolls out. I mean, even you got the Rockies that are just 6 games under 500. Chris Bryant's played a little better, and which they love to
He's
see.
great
So
this year too.
yeah, exactly. So it's good to see they're happy for him. So hopefully things turn around for them and overall in that division, because those are 5 ballparks you love to watch baseball at. So that's good to see.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I think that's a good place to wrap things up for episode 49 of the At Bat podcast presented by War Media. Of course, watch all of our shows. We got Open Run with Gabe and Josh as they cover all NBA playoffs. We're in the conference finals now. And of course, stay up to date with more of the Fandemonium segments that Kyle Means has. I know we just released a clip of Eric Bolin from USA Today, who was talking a little bit about air. And so, yeah, catch up on all our coverage with the Bears as well. Training camp starting in the next couple months. So, that there is, Chicago's on fire right now with so much stuff going on, with all the sports, and even with the Blackhawks getting the number 1 pick, as well. So unfortunately, it didn't work out for the Bulls. They have no first round pick. So that's unfortunate there. But hey, it is what it is, and hopefully we can enjoy a nice hot summer of baseball. Hopefully, the Cubs and the White Sox pick it up. That's all,
Exactly.
But
I want
Forrest
to give
Rodriguez.
a huge shout out.
Oh yeah,
real quick, to Bash Sports Academy. This place means the absolute world to me. I love coaching here. Shout out to all the parents and all the players. The players especially who I've been giving lessons to, and then although I don't work here anymore, I'm still here working out, and it's just huge shout out to Bash Sports Academy. To anyone who's listening and is in the Chicago land area, please come here to get some lessons from Coach George, Coach Ryan, Coach Francis, all the softball coaches. I can't remember everyone's name right now. Please come here and have a great baseball experience. This place means the world to me. I have nothing but amazing things to say. So thank you, Bash, for letting me use the office right now. Shout out to Jim Price, who's the facility guy, and he's the manager and everything. He runs this place. So huge shout out to him. So thank you, Bash, for letting me use this place to record another amazing episode with my guy.
Absolutely, man. Hey, anybody who's friends with Miles Porter's are friends with the At Bat podcast, and it's Saul Rodriguez for. So for Saul Rodriguez, Miles Porter, and another great episode of the At Bat podcast. Join us next week, man. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Have a great one.